Hello, this is Felicia Moore. Welcome to another edition of Realty, Resources, and Realities. We talked about at the last show about now it's being a buyer's market. So, what does that mean? What's the advantages and disadvantages if you're buying or if you're selling? We're going to talk about it in this episode. So, stay tuned. Hello, Felicia Moore here with Realty Resources and Reality right out of Exit Realty West Midtown. So before we get started, I do want to ask you to please like this video so we can get it out to other people, share it. There may be information a friend or somebody you heard talking about real estate needs to know, or please subscribe because we want to get our viewership up. So anyway, today we're talking about the advantages and disadvantages of a buyer's market or a seller's market, whether you're buying or whether you're selling. I've got some great notes that I pulled together for you that we're going to go over today. But please like, share, and subscribe as I asked. And then also I just want to, again, send the invitation to you. You're viewing, you're watching, you may have a question about real estate. You can reach me directly at askfelicia@exitwestmidtown.com, or you can text Ask Felicia to 85377, and I'll call you back or get back with you and answer your questions. If you have small groups or large groups or medium-sized groups that you would like to hear some things that you need to know as property owners, there's so much information and we try to cover them here in the show. But I would love to come and speak to you. I'm also the community engagement person and resource person here at Exit Realty West Midtown because we really care about giving back to the community. So please use me, call me, and let's get together on that. So you have that way to call me and reach me, and hopefully you've liked the video. So now I am going to leave this up for a minute while we start, because we talked about at the last video that this is becoming or is a buyer's market here in the Atlanta metro area. So I did a little bit more research because I was saying, okay, well, that's good to tell people. But if I'm looking now to buy something, or if I'm looking to sell my property, what does this really mean for me? So first, let's talk about what indicates a buyer's market and why people are reporting that we're moving into it. And this is an interesting statistic. In February of this year, 68%, so that's a large percentage of the homes in the metro area. So I'm not just talking about the city of Atlanta. I'm also talking about 14 county or larger area, which we call the Atlanta metro area. And let me say, all of this is nuanced as well because it depends on the neighborhood. There may be a little difference, but this is just a general overview to give you a sense of what's going on. So 68% of the homes in the metro area sold below their original list price. So that means the sellers are putting it out there. They say, I want $500,000, and they may have gotten $475,000. They were not getting exactly what they were asking for, and 68% of them were below what they asked for. 62% of the sellers offered concessions. So that means that the seller, in order to sell the property, made some concessions to the buyers. And that is well above the national average of 44%. So nationally, sellers are making about 44% of them are making concessions to get the property sold. In this area, we're doing 62%, so that's pretty substantial. Now, in April of this year, there were 63% more sellers than there were buyers. So now we have sort of flipped the script where we have more supply than we have people who are demanding it. And believe me, real estate is cyclical. It's going to go back and forth, but right now this is where we are. And so Atlanta is among the top metros sliding into what they call buyer favoring territory. The median home price fell 2.5%. And then a recent spring home buying season, which is, what we just passed through, it was the weakest in 13 years. And so that shows us that the sellers are having a little bit more challenges in their selling their property. So market balance are transitioning. So now we are considered in the metro area transitioning from a seller-favored environment to a more balanced, buyer-friendly phase. So inventory is still increasing. In some months, it's nearly 50% year to date. So over 50%. So the bottom line, and I'll give you this, it says that metro area has shifted firmly towards a buyer's market in 2025, but it's nuanced, as I said earlier. Now, homes that are very well priced, and that's something we'll talk about before, those that are in great condition and are highly marketable in a great area and all of that can still move quickly in this market without maybe as many concessions. But again, that will be on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. So the pros and cons. There are pros and cons to selling and buying in this market. And we're going to talk about that, but we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will get into the pros and cons.
Hi there. For Wisdom Wednesday today, I want to talk about empathy. Empathy is actually a strength. This entire organization was built on empathy, that empathy orientation of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. In fact, it was built from a position of love, building a company based on human potential. But I think that it couldn't be more important than it is today to have empathy for every single human being. One of the best ways to do more business and be part of your community is to just reach out, see how everybody's holding up. Make sure that you're adding value to people's lives and help them regardless of what the circumstance or the situation is. We see such divide today, and we really, especially an empathy-oriented company, we're the family we chose. Exit is the family we chose. We chose to be part of this special organization, and we talk about it all the time as part of a family. We have blood relatives, and then we have the family that we've chosen. And you're in a community that you probably chose to be part of too. And so I think it's really important to have empathy, lead with a position of love, and probably it's actually the best way for you to increase your business and increase your quality of life.
Thank you for that message to remind us to have empathy. And again, we are here at Exit Realty West Midtown to serve the community and to help you with your real estate needs. So feel free to call us. We are here to help. It doesn't always cost. We just are here to be a resource to you. So again, I will tell you, if you want me or any of the broker of record, Michael, to come out, we will do that because we have empathy and we care for the communities that we serve. So please reach out to me. So anyway, let's get into what we were talking about, which are the pros and the cons. So being in a buyer's market, the advantage goes to the buyer. So when you hear someone say it's a buyer's market, advantage goes to the buyer. You hear someone say it's a seller's market, advantage goes to the seller. So in a buyer's market, the advantages for the buyer is, of course, is they have leverage now. They can do more negotiations. They can ask for those concessions, pay closing costs, pay compensation, whatever it is that you may need. You know what? I don't like that room, that color, and I like it another color. Now, some of these things are petty, but I'm just giving you examples. You can ask those things and ask for closing costs or rate buy downs. There are things that you can do as a buyer to try to make it as favorable for you, which you should in this market as you can. And then there's increased inventory because that means if it's a buyer's market, there's a large inventory and there are fewer buyers. So it gives you more options and more times to look at. And hopefully the prices are starting to decline. So that does give you some options on the price as well. So here's the disadvantages for the buyers, and particularly in this market, it's the high mortgage rates. And with mortgage rates going between 6 and 7%, it's hard to maintain affordability. While the prices are dropping in terms of the house, it's still relative high to income. They are saying, for example, a household income of $120,000 is need to afford the median house in Atlanta. And in some neighborhoods, the competition may be even greater. And we know that the cost of a home is going to be in the $425,000 or more range, depending on the neighborhood. Of course, those nuances, but that's kind of what things are going for. So the interest rates being high and the ability for people to have the income to afford it is also going down. And so that's a disadvantage for the buyer, that has not changed in the market in which buyers have the advantage. Now, the seller's market. The advantages to a seller when it flips again, and it will, it always changes in real estate. The sellers are compelling. They can have they need to make sure that their prices are well priced. You're in a buyer's market. You don't want to overprice your property so that it gets skipped. You want to make sure that your neighborhood is good, if your home is in good condition, and that it can be resilient through this period of time. And you got to determine too, as a seller, when do I really need to sell and how soon do I want to sell? Because you may need to think, price the property correctly, but then think about how much of a concession can I make? This is what I listed for. This will be my personal bottom line when I get into negotiating. So there are a lot of things for a seller to consider in this market. Do I need to sell it now? Do I need to sell it quick? Or do I have time to work on that? So the disadvantages to the sellers now is that there are more properties on the market. So there's more competition for the fewer buyers that are out there. And if you're not willing to make concessions, the guy down the street might do that. So you have to think about that. You also have to think about, the time on the market. And if you overprice, it's going to backfire because it's going to lead to it being on there longer and price cuts, and people wonder, what's wrong with that property? They just keep reducing the price and nobody's buying it. You don't want to give people those things. You want to price it right the first time. So here are some tips for you if you're a buyer and you're a seller. As we wrap up, I want to make sure that I give you these tips. Also want to make sure that you have my contact information because we really want to hear from you and want to make sure that we're doing shows. Maybe you have some show ideas. So as I give you these tips as we close out, please take in mind these are the top tips for buyers and sellers. So for the buyer in a buyer's market, leverage those concessions, negotiate for seller assistance in closing costs, repairs, and mortgage. Expand your search and remain flexible. You have more options now because there's a larger market of properties that are available for sale. That means opportunities for you. And get pre-approved. I always tell people this as soon as they're talking about buying. Have you gotten pre-approved? That's what you have to do first, so that when you see what you want and you're able to get it negotiated, you're ready to move. So if you're a seller, and this is now a buyer's market, you want to price strategically. Everybody thinks what they own is worth more than it is. It's just the reality. it's worth what someone will buy it for. So listen to hopefully an exit realtor. But if whoever you deal with, listen to the recommendations. Make sure you understand why you're listing for the price that you're listing for. And unless you can come up with some other supporting data, then you should probably look at the comparative market analysis data that has been provided for you and make sure that you price strategically. Now, this is where you want to do a little bit more. You want to stage and present well. You don't want people driving up and the weeds are 6 feet high. It's not landscape. You want to put a little extra, put an investment in there, sprucing up, decluttering, doing what you need to do, getting rid of your personal pictures, your family pictures, and all of that. You want to get it down to the bare bones so that the people can see themselves living in that house. And so you have got to do a little bit more work. And they may come back, the buyer may say, hey, I want concessions for this or that in terms of repairs based on inspections, etc. And you want to offer some concessions. So you, the seller, take the rein, know what you will bear, what you will do, what you won't do, and get those concessions up front and market them with the property. So when they come, there's not much more that they're going to ask for because you can say, hey, this is the asking price. These are the concessions that we have already determined return for closing costs, minor repairs, etc. And make sure you keep an eye. This is for both buyer and seller on the market and the trends because they can change. And you might want to keep your eye on it as you're considering buying, as you're considering selling, or even once you're in it. And be ready to pivot if things change in the market. Be ready to do that. I hope this is helpful for you because I didn't want to leave you with our last show, just say, hey, it's a buyer's market and be done with it. I hope you found a tip or two if you're buying or selling that will help you in today's market. Until next time, take care with your real estate needs. Remember, we are here at Exit Realty West Midtown to serve you. And so please reach out and contact us. We'll love to help you. Have a good one. Uh-oh.